pieces. Yes, there are 3 points of material, but I now have 3 minor pieces with which I can coordinate as opposed to only 2 that have to get all of the work done on the other side.
Yeah, those rooks, I mean, they're literally...
And they're stuck.
Opposite of coordinated.
There's mate patterns, 91, CD, bishop f1, but white plays a4, and rooks have a property where they always come in at the right moment and spoil the party. Like, once they're in the game, they're sweeping all the pawns.
It's far away though, right? And quality over quantity. Look at the quality of the 2 rooks and look at the quality of the minor pieces. Compare that and it's easy to see that Fabi's pushing, but he doesn't have all the time in the world.
Now. I don't know why.
King goes up, the rook comes into the game, and maybe it's not all that bad for white. Do you have enough time to put more pressure here is the big question. Fabi, he has to find a way. Or Nordebek equalizes.
Not enough time on the clock, but he jumps in deep behind enemy lines here. He's going pawn hunting Fabi. He's going to try and at least win 1 or 2 pawns before the white rooks get out, into the
beautiful tactics here. I mean, 3 pieces like d4. There's all sorts of moves you'd love to consider if you had more than 24 seconds.
d4, maybe we will find out what the players are considering.
Check or maybe we can see if there's any new results.
Well, we got 18 seconds on the clock here for Fabi.
I'm just looking to update anybody, but no, this is the most interesting game.
Also, that knight just stopped the white king from coming to a very important square on c2. He does grab a pawn. Does this give Nordebek time to step up with the king to b2 and get that rook on the h line?
Yeah, that's an odd pawn to grab. I thought he would go hunting for others, more relevant pawns.
Yeah, because b2 also effectively threatens the knight on e1, right? With the rook. So you activate the rook at the same time.
Can white go castle here?
White can still castle.
I completely forgot about that.
I think the players have forgotten about it. Otherwise, that's a great move, Tanya.
Isn't it? Put that king on c1, the rook on d1.
No, I'm still, you don't understand where my brain is. I'm still like playing this move in my head, and I keep convincing it is legal.
Yeah, there is still a bishop to f4 check, and it's still complicated, but are we going to see long castle here? Well, I keep calling it long castle. Are we going to see king to c castle here?
No, it is long castle. Like, in Russian, you say long castle is the only way to refer to it.
Yeah, I think the thing is you're asking these players in a fairly intense moment to even remember that as a possibility.
So easy to forget.
And I think that it would be very easy.
It's on the board!
See, on chess.com,
let's go!
We could put the king on the rook, and nobody will know you made an illegal move. Here.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Tanya, that was...
Okay.
That was a great moment. That's going to be in the highlights today.
Phenomenal. Yeah, knight now having to retreat. Obviously, these...
Darn, the game is not over.
No, it's not.
Rook involved, though, right?
At h
well, and there you have it. Gets involved.
Nice call. 2,700 here, James.
I'm riding all y'all's coattails, let's be honest.
But now
bishop
black
f4, bishop g4, and then h5, h4, h3, h2 can be played.
How does Nordebek have 4 extra minutes on the clock right now? That is insane time management.
Chess warrior.
Absolutely. Well,
Put some numbers after it.
Slides the bishop back here to
rook
g5.
h1 and sack on h6. Get rid of that pawn.
Okay, he pushes. Oh no, he brings his rook back.
Ooh, bishop e6. Cannot play d5. There's a fork.
Oh, Fabi's let this one slip. Wow. This is turning.
Whoa, rook f1. Oh my gosh.
It really feels like
bad.
He's issued the retreat orders. Everybody's returning to base at this point.
And white's pass pawns will prevail, I think.
So if the knight moves back, are you expecting him to give up an exchange?
Depends where the knight goes.
Well, let's say h4.
If knight h4, maybe first king d3, and then rook at some point, rook f7.
It's an idea in the air, and it does go to h4. Will Nordebek rush with rook takes pawn? I don't think it's the time just yet. Get that king into the game. Fabi, you can tell he's feeling the pressure right now on the board and the clock.
Good call. On the
b5 and only now.
Well, the a2 pawn is hanging as well. Completely forgot about that one.
And now he's at c4, then I think would have blocked the bishop out. No, this is
check.
Now the white e-pawn will start running. The only pawn.
Still...
Wow.
I wouldn't put a4 past Nordebek.
Or rook to g7, maybe. Either way, okay, he pushes his pawn. Fabi, just no time to think. I mean, he's still coordinating really nicely. Okay, he lost his initiative, taking his head.
34 seconds.
But that e-pawn, right, it's going to stop at on the 6th rank. You can't cross over just yet. You need that king to march closer towards the black pieces.
And what's he worried about? King e4, knight e7 is some sort of... Imagine, yes, quote unquote. We know someone who doesn't believe in them also in this tournament. What a beautiful view.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is
Sorry,
my favorite
the idea
camera.
there, king e4, knight e7, is just that the king can no longer advance any further after that
Closer,
because
yeah.
protected by the knight. Okay.
Yeah, very instructive there.
A drink of
Great.
water, things are stable.
Yeah, and
Time for
Notre
A4.
Dame
Come on,
thinking
Novak.
up to 44 seconds on the clock now for Fabiano.
Is there a sense that Nodebek might have rushed a little bit too much? Like, at least on the clock? The last few moves? He did have
I
options.
didn't see that e7 is blockaded.
Yeah.
Tanya, you mentioned that possibility. Looked very tempting, but what now?
To push the pawn forward, but you don't have enough time to do that. He first gets the rook behind the black pawn, now coming in with the king. Wait, did he just slide back?
He did.
Defending that c pawn.
Fabi had the option there to repeat the position. He could have gone back and forth, checking the white king back to the center. Fabi is the one playing for a win. Yet again now.
David, you put that a pawn on a4, that knight stays on d5. You're stopping the e pawn from moving anywhere further. I think Fabi once again has found the balance. If anything, he can be the one pushing for the win now.
Well, and this is where you're kind of hurting for an extra minor piece, right?
Or
On the
about
side,
to
on the.
save, I think, yeah. Can I check for 5 seconds?
Let's
Yeah,
do it.
absolutely.
Let's do it.
Oh, there we go. And he's 3-0, and Pedastev's 0-3.
Wow.
And very quickly, just around the horn so that everybody can know what the position. This is Gukash Aronian. It's an endgame complicated, but not as interesting as Fabi. And then Magnus versus Keimer. Magnus versus Keimer is very interesting. Where should we go?
What was the clock situation on the Magnus board?
Vincent has no time, and Magnus has.
Should we quickly check in with that one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's
go,
do it.
Let's go there.
Fabi, he's keeping everything under control with that fortress. That's the top left board. Let's check in with Magnus.
Magnus a pawn up, now going up with his queen as well. The black rook almost trapped.
He's going to win.
Yeah, he's on the brink of...
Karu's getting outplayed, I think, by Faruja. But we can go back to the Fabi game.
There's nothing more dangerous than an angry Magnus, David. After last round's loss, he wants to come back with a vengeance.
And you said it. Doesn't lose twice in a row, right? It was a sure thing.
He goes up again.
Still a game, though. Like I said, assumed rook e7 is over, but not yet.
Queen c8, maybe? He plays it. He's
Yeah.
bringing his rook up to the top of the board. Black king's in a mating net.
Rook
Queen
e8.
c6, queen b... No.
Where are the checks? Where are the checks for Vincent?
Rook e8, queen c6. There's no mate yet.
Great move by Vincent. Only defensive move. He keeps finding the only way to cling on.
Norbek's game
Wow.
2 is they're all interesting.
But even in endgame, even if Magnus gets the queens off, he's winning because he has an extra 2 pawns on the king side. They're just going
Magnus
to walk
will
up the board.
Tighten the screws just a little bit.
Oh yeah, he's locking his opponent's pieces
Okay.
here in a defensive position, right?
He's gonna-
Always threatening that queen over to a8. If
Does he now just simply start pushing that g pawn? What's the winning idea here?
They are there. 2 pawns. Pass pawns are there to be pushed, as they say.
There's some maybe.
I'm looking for sacks. Queen b...
I think Magnus is as well. G4, G5.
Wait, queen b8 and then rook e6.
Not as stylish.
No.
Queen b8.
Wait, queen b8 and rook e6.
Ooh, I like it. Deflect the
It's a
queen
fork.
from taking it away from controlling that a8 square.
Yeah, and then rook
Rook
d6.
d6.
Yeah, queens, but then you think.
Magnus would just improve his bishop.
Yeah.
Respectful.
Exactly.
David knows
Then
Magnus.
set off the tactics.
This is a friend of Magnus.
That's too good. That's too good.
Check.
Okay.
And is there a knockout move? He trades.
Trading.
Well,
Told
he's
you
got
he
2
would.
extra
Okay,
pawns.
well, let's go back to Fabi. This is the moment because we know how this is going to end.
Yeah,
Yes.
Magnus will win. He will promote one of his pawns.
And
Yeah.
we do not know how this game is going to end still.
And look at that bind that Fabi set up with that central knight and the bishop, right? It's controlling all of Nodebek's trumps in the position. And that would be our top left board.
Yeah, we're gonna dive right back into Caruana and Notre Dame to see how that game is continuing to develop. We spent most of our time here. Both of these players have built time on the clock as they maneuver around.
And lots of it, actually.
Yeah.
And I love what Fabiano has done. He's just pushed his pawns as far as they can go. They're all stopped right now, but the black a3 pawn, watch out for that. Maybe a future potential queen. The h4 pawn, any race, he's just going to win. Any time the black king starts getting into the game, it's over.
But David, is this some sort of a maximization by both players where black can't improve and white can't improve either, right? Well, it's easy to see
Black
from
can.
Nodebek, but how do you
King e6,
improve?
king f5.
But then you're giving up the c6 pawn. Are you okay with that? Do you have enough time to promote that h pawn?
You're asking all the right questions. I don't have all the right... I would say yes. My intuition says yes, because rook takes c6,
yeah.
you have knight b4. It's too much going on. The rook can't deal with it.
We had our king slide over to protect that bishop. That allows freedom for our knight. Pops out to f4.
H3 doesn't work.
Not just yet, because the rook slides back to the first rank
Easy
and
to
defense.
blunder, by the way.
Still
As I just did.
It's still not easy to convert this one, as black.
Maybe knight H3 and then around to G5 somehow?
Does he break with d5? You give him one opportunity. Is
Takes and still knight G5 maybe. D5 is such an annoying move to deal with. That's why he put his king on C4.
Maybe you should go the long way around. Put the knight back where it came from. There we go. Stop any pawn breaks. Bring the black king round, like E8 and anytime the white
Wow,
rook
take
goes
the king
pawn
for a
hunting.
walk, huh?
Exactly. Take it for a walk. Go annoy that rook. Go harass that white rook.
Magnus
Kick it off the
is
H
running
pass.
smoothly, just letting people know. Perugia Nakamura is still in the air, as is Zaroni and Gukesh.
I really like your idea of the king march from the 8th rank. Get it closer to the white rook. But David, then it all comes down to, can white be in time to pick up that c6 pawn and generate counterplay? The moment you go king to e8, rook h6.
And okay, he goes the other way with his knight, Fabiano. Definitely feels like he's floundering a bit for a plan. The clock clearly at the forefront of his mind.
It's like standing on the diving board into the pool, and you don't know exactly when to press the button. And personally, for me, I always do it at the wrong moment. Like, when do you go king f5 and sack the c6 pawn? Tanya, you mentioned this. When you mistime it, you can lose.
But he's not going to sack the c6 pawn. He wants to put the king on d5, I think.
I
After a check.
opposition that motion. But Noterbeck doesn't. Like he wants to mate him on d6 or something.
It's a bit scary, right?
I don't like the way you looked at me. I said that, David.
Fabiano did look a bit stressed on the camera. He's like, oh, why did I do this? It's too scary. Put
Do you
the king
think?
in the center.
Do you think he does it?
Yeah. No.
Oh,
Wow, he goes back.
Changes his mind.
He can't bring his knight to the center anymore. That would be the third time. Wow.
Wow. Oof.
He knows he's playing freestyle chess. He's just setting up for the next game.
Yep. Yeah, he's predicting the knight placement.
Knight 8, knight c7.
Does he want to go to e6? Is that the new spot he wants to get his knight to? And then try to assist it to push the h pawn?
Kings in the endgame can be good. I think we need to tell these players they need to consider activating their king in the endgame.
Fabi,
Well,
activate that king.
It's an important note for maybe some of our viewers, right?
But this is why.
The power of the king as the game develops and less pieces are on the board.
Yeah, it moves one square at a time, but here it helps prepare the crucial pawn break, and that's all you need. You need that little extra bit of help.
And is Fabi going to shuffle that knight now to a different square is the big question. Because the moment you put it on e6, you're actually allowing Noterbeck to push that d pawn. And you have to understand the consequences of that, and I'm struggling. Is d5 a good break to allow? And
More
who is it
pawns
good
that
for?
disappear the closer you get to a draw, right? Surely.
It's not a question Fabio wants to ask Noterbeck
Yeah.
or himself.
He might have missed the moment, I think, Fabi, to start racing. Now the black knight is so passive.
Yeah.
Like running with the black king ever, it's going to be a bit of a stretch.
What about knight a6 and knight b4? Has that been tried?
Sorry, knight e6?
A6.
Oh, a6.
Knight Aaron Nimzovich 6.
Question.
Yeah, that's a plan.
Yeah, but his knight was on d5. Why didn't... I guess anytime you get to b4, the white king just drops back to b3.
He's solving the knight squares problem. Can you hit every square without hitting one square twice?
The knight's
I think
tour.
you can. The knight's tour. I don't know.
Knight a6 would be interesting. And he goes for it. Great call there.
Good call.
And now if d5, you trade in the center, and knight b4 comes in with a check, and you
Bingo.
pick up the a2 pawn. Works to perfection.
Ooh. It's like a snake slithering around that rook. Gotcha.
I think Noterbeck would like the option not to move right now. He just says, pass.
Yeah.
You jump in with the knight, then I shoot my king.
There's a new
King B3,
iteration
I
of
think.
chess right there. The option to pass a turn.
You get 3 passes per game.
That would be...
Oh, like a but king b3. And if knight b4, e6 is a problem, potentially. King c7 or king c7, knight d5. Maybe not.
Yeah, and that's the big question. How much of a problem is e6 in allowing the black king that beautiful d6 spot? Every pawn move has its own consequence, right?
That is such a deep plan. You want to provoke e6 and then start everything over again. Knight tour continues to c7.
Okay,
It's happening.
So help me understand the b3 move, because from my perspective, the knight still makes it to b4 and still has the option now to jump in to say like a d3, unprotected by the king. And so we've almost, from my perspective, given an opportunity for the knight to get more involved towards the center of the board.
Yeah, fully agree. The white king does not want to be sidelined like this, just protecting a mere pawn on a2. I think essentially he needs something now, whether that's a check, and the fact that the black pieces are a bit loose, the black knight just about held by the black bishop, which could come under fire. this is the moment Abdusattorov needs to strike before Fabi gets one more move and starts bringing that knight back to support the other pawn, the runner.
Black wins in one of two ways: to promote the H pawn, or you promote the A pawn, and white needs division of labor. Like king has to babysit one,
And rook
has
on
to
the
contain the other.
And now the clocks are leveling out as well. This has become a bullet fight with both players under a minute on the clock. And look at this last tricky move, right? He's giving up the h3 pawn, but then the king walks into the line of fire with a discovered check, capturing a central pawn
Look
for
at
black.
that narration as
It's
it's
happening.
happening.
It is happening. Knight takes pawn coming up.
Oh, white isn't past A pawn. That is not a wrinkle I considered.
And knights are notoriously bad at stopping these corner pawns, these A and H pawns. So Black's knight cannot get too sidetracked now.
If only the bishop wasn't defending the other passed pawn.
A bit tied up.
Yeah, he was pulling double duty that entire time.
Oh, white, again, it's 3 results. Unbelievable.
And we're sitting in a glass box here. We just saw Magnus Carlsen walk past us outside the studio. I do believe he won his game
Yeah.
against Vincent Keimer, as predicted.
Levon Bukaj draw.
Getting
Hikaru.
Predictions on this one. How does this end? David, I'll start with you.
Draw.
Draw? James.
Before that pawn was vacuumed up, I would have given the edge
James,
to
no
black.
dodging this one. You got to give me a prediction.
I'm going to go draw as well,
That's-
White wins.
unfortunately. White wins.
I say Fabi wins this.
Wow.
Under
Because
20
that's-
Okay, well,
seconds.
somebody will be right at the end of all of this. We had
We
a
got
couple
all
pawns
of it
pushed.
covered.
Don't let this get to Fabi.
But he's got 10 seconds on the clock. Knight comes back to fight against that A passer, also eyeing that central E5 pawn. That's a
Right.
double attack.
We can push to A6,
You got to
right?
push to A6.
Is Daniel going to be right? Like, white winning this would be a huge turn up for the books. He's been worse the whole game.
King.
Nodebek.
No.
Coming closer.
And that king is there just in time.
But just don't
king
put it on
B3
B6.
anyway.
Yeah, because if you go king closer to that pawn, the A pawn will start pushing, taking advantage of the pin on the 6th rank. So no king B6 right now. I think king B6 loses to A7.
Oh. King C3. And so knight takes E5, he's some trick. A7 and rook E6 maybe? Bishop F8.
Black would not lose that one still.
But it could liquidate into a draw if like black takes the A pawn and white takes a minor piece.
When
Knight
rook takes-
takes pawn.
when rook takes knight at the end, you get pinned.
Yes.
Wait, ace, which line?
Bishop F8 and rook E6.
Yeah, but you can win the bishop instead and give up the pawn. A8 queen. Rook E8.
Bishop D8.
Can we have
Okay.
the arrows to show this?
What's,
This is
what's
very
stopping,
Made it
what's
for me,
stopping us
though.
from pushing A7 right here?
Yeah,
But
the
he's
black
gone
king
with
is
the rook.
What is
inside.
Nordebek trying to do?
The black
He's
king is stepping across
planning some shenanigans here.
to stop the pawn.
And Fabi did offer a repetition. Nodebek declines it. He's playing for more.
Staying true to his tournament form so
King
far.
A6 is a draw, let's be clear.
Yeah. A rook cannot beat a lone bishop or lone knight, so even if Fabiano is to lose one of his pieces and his pawns, he just needs to get rid of the white A pawn.
Rook takes H4, king takes E.
And Fabi rightly sidestepping the pin because once again, A7 was a massive threat to just neutralize everything. How is Nodebek pushing for a win here? Well, the king comes in. This is getting tricky.
He's playing for the win.
He is.
For the win, Nodebek.
C6 under pretty dire threat.
At A7, you can repeat, but using that as a weapon against Fabi, it's like that indecision. It's excruciating. Like you don't know, and then you make a rash decision.
It feels like they're both playing for a win, right? But it should be a draw, but they're both
So
wanting
someone's
to win.
playing for a loss.
The rook can pin the bishop. Well, Nodebek comes back with the king, so he is offering a repetition. Will Fabi take it or will Fabi play
gonna
for
go knight
more?
C8.
With just 15 seconds on the clock.
Not many options for Fabi. He has to move his knight. His bishop's tied down. His
Knight
king cannot
C8.
go anywhere.
Is king B5, knight D6.
There are tricks still.
Maybe rook H8.
Yeah, white needs to win one of the pieces, the black pieces, for the A pawn. Still hard to imagine Nodebek winning this one.
How calm does he look on the screen, though? It's just, it's crazy to watch him. Just so in control.
Scary. Both of these players, scary opponents.
Very terrifying. He does pin the bishop. The black king can move forward closer to the white pawn.
Oh.
And you can give a check, but then knight checks.
Yeah, it's king. I think it's still a draw, but it's suddenly it's getting a little uncomfortable for Nodebek. He cannot just lose the A pawn for nothing.
Okay, so H6 now the knight defends while checking.
Even king A5 is a move. In
Ambition?
fact, it might not be such a bad one.
Brave
In
move.
fact, I think he might play it.
Yeah, being brave and ambitious in chess, it's like a
Aw.
double-edged sword, right? It can backfire. You can just push too
But he
hard.
might play it now. He gave himself another 10.
He does it. Game on. Fabi playing for the win.
Yeah, the problem is if the black king now grabs the white pawn, then black's pawn on c5
Drops.
also falling, and it's going to be a draw. Very,
The
very
count of
quick.
knight f5 check, rook takes a6, taking the king. That will not happen. It's illegal.
Yeah, the black knight pinned. So pushing the c-pawn looks like the only way to try and win this game, but your pieces are hanging. Oh, okay, everything fizzling out
Whoa.
now. Nodibek once more.
Whoa, but this is looking very dangerous
Rook f6,
now.
just rook f6, rook e6.
And black is not in time to push the h-pawn and give up the bishop.
Precisely what he wants Fabi to try.
He's chasing that bishop. It's going to be a draw, handshake.
There it
Piece
is.
itself.
Let's go to Ali Reza. He's
Wow.
playing. Oh, never mind. Just draw.
What a game, though. One of my favorite things, how quickly the players dive into their own conversations about it.
I think we're analyzing the endgame.
I think it's quite a lot earlier, analyzing the earlier stages of the game.
When the knight came forward to threaten a3.
Where there was that flurry, the three pieces versus the two rooks was the result. But interesting, the players, I mean, freestyle chess, blindfold chess, they're doing it all there, showing off their understanding of the game.
Nodibek has to be the more relieved one, though. I mean, if you look at the start of the game, those two rooks versus those deadly three pieces, it looked extremely dangerous for white.
Seeing, but that castle, by the way, because seeing a rook on a1 and a8 and locked behind a king, it looked really dire. But finding a way.
Draws. Tisk, tisk, tisk.
For a player who barely ever draws in a tournament, right? Nodibek's the one who gives us all the decisive action.
Yeah, well, through 3 rounds now, we'll get another quick look at the players' reactions as they fight for life here in the round robin.
One Uzbek is 3-0. 3 wins, the other 3 draws.
Wow.
And Sindarov, I think so far, probably the surprise, if we're going to call anything, of the tournament, now sitting at 3 victories. And we'll refresh the standings as we always do following this replay so we can get a good picture of the standings. Still 6 rounds to go before any players are eliminated, and a couple of those rounds will be played out today. Second day of the round robin to follow tomorrow. You see head and hands, but of course, always the handshakes and the discussions to follow. Welcome back. I mean, exciting chess, as freestyle chess always promises. Many decisive results, a couple of draws here and there. I think it is about time for us to check in on how each of the games resulted here. And this will be the first time we shirk the previous pattern that we were developing. Only 2 decisive games this time around, with Sindarov and Carlsen coming away with wins, while the other 3 matches will end in draws.
Wow, so that means that Sindarov would be our only leader, the sole leader going into this next round. And to your point, not many would have predicted that. At least on paper, he's an underdog in this tournament.
I really wish
Yes.
the tournament ended here and right now.
Yeah, but slotting in last minute, right? Having played runner-up to Fedoseev, now gets the win over him. And so, again, what a confidence booster that must be for him nice and early. And from here, we'll pull up the standings and take a look at that whole picture. Of course, we won't be surprised to see Sindarov up at the top. And then you can see Fabiano and Ali Reza at 2.5 before Magnus rounds out the top 4.
Yeah, Magnus bouncing back, but of course the main point of these of this initial, rapid portion, right, is to knock out 2 players essentially. And I'm looking at the bottom there, Levon Aronian getting a draw, so getting on the scoreboard,
Yes.
important. But Fedoseev, it has been a really tough start to his first outing here at Freestyle.
Yeah, an unfortunate start for him, especially considering, just from my conversations over the last couple days, a lot of people talking about, how much of a power player he is considered within, the Chess 960 format. One of the guys who has been a fan of the format long before, these last couple of years.
Fischer was alive when he heard about it. I mean, he's and justly so. Not Wesley so, but we'll see how he reacts. But now is the age of comebacks. Like lots of amazing tournament comebacks that I remember in commentating, like Vaishali and the women's candidates 5 in a row. Eric Icey, he took that tournament out of. It's not going to be one of his best, but he beats Gukesh in the last round. Lots of amazing stories written in the second half of a tournament, but it's going to take a lot of willpower, and he's going to have to play better. Sometimes we forget to mention that, like, The moves have to be better. He has to win, and it's really, really hard. You feel for him. Lots of chess left to be played.
Yeah, absolutely. Freestyle, fish or random. There's a reason why Fedosiev is called Big Fish.
There it is.
On chess.com, but I think now is the time. I mean, it's really gone beyond that moment. He has to not only stop the bleeding by a solid draw, but I think he has to win a game. It's also really important for your confidence boost, you know? This is a tournament where no round is going to be easy. So there's no breather at all. He has to score a point in the next one to have any hopes at all. He can do it. He had a fantastic run at Tata Steel. Coming into that tournament once again as perhaps one of the underdog, and what a finish he had. He finished fourth, so incredible stuff. You know, David, you mentioned this point, right? 2 eliminated going into the knockout stage. That's the big aim, to get into top 8. But there's also a lot of incentive to finish at the top of the leaderboard, because those finishing in top 4 will get to pick their opponents for the quarterfinals. So you want to not only fight to make it to the knockouts, but also finish at the top.
Yes.
Yeah. They all got different goals. Like I said, win a game, you know, win the tournament. It's like, don't draw all my games if you're North
Well, and I think while that, of course, is the end goal in the round robin, right? Finish in the top 3 where you at least have some say in your opponent, because the 4th person will just get whoever remains.
Forced, yes.
At the end of the day, I think you still have to put it together one step at a time. When I'm looking at somebody who's sitting at the bottom of the leaderboard, I'm trying to think how they can get themselves into a state of mental clarity, return to their fundamentals, and retain the confidence that they should have coming into this tournament. And with that, I believe our lottery is already taking place here for our 4th position of the day.
That is my cue to use the loop, so I will
200?
leave it in the capable hands. The wheel.
200.
Position 200.
Oh, 200.
That's quite far away from everything that we've had. So it's going to be a very
And
different
same
position that's going to
procedure.
come up. And there
This
we
is the
have it.
position.
I saw the queen at the
and
corner
white,
of the board.
please deliberate on that
I'm riveted
side,
by
and
the
black,
action. I
please
almost
deliberate
can't,
on
you
that
know.
side. Thank you
but,
so much.
It'll still be happening when you get back.
I think I'll make him for the game start.
And just while we wait for the position to be shown to us, I mean, this is game 4, right? Sindarov on 3 out of 3. If he wins this next one, it's pretty much guaranteed he's in the quarterfinals. I think 4 points out of 9 games. Even if he loses the rest, there's no chance you get in the bottom 2.
Yeah, I will tentatively say that that's a guarantee, yes. Because, again, all you're looking for is top 8 in terms of qualification. Yes, you want to push for more, but, again, what a weight off the shoulders that would be for, you know, one of our youngest players in the field here.
Yeah.
And
then
for him to arrive.
for first place.
Oh, goodness.
Avoid relegation
Goal
first.
2.
Avoid elimination first.
Yeah. I mean, he's taken down Vincent. He's taken down Levon. Fedosiev. Guess who he's playing in the next round?
Is it Magnus?
Close enough. He's playing the world champion. He's playing Gukesh. So that's going to be a big fight. Again, there's so much rivalry between these two players, both youngsters, this new generation, fresh blood that's now dominating the chess world. What storyline will it be in this one?
Well, while the players, of course, are going to still take those
Typical
10
narratives
minutes or so to evaluate the position, I think that's the board we should probably start with. We should start with, you know, the tournament leader against the current world champion in Gukesh when we get there. But here we have the position up on our screens, position 200. As you mentioned, those queens slammed over into the left-hand side of the board.
And also, James, to your point, just really quickly before we jump into this, Gukesh currently is at number 8. So he's kind of borderline.
Sorry about that.
You know, Javaki right at top, so he's looking for that win, and Levon, they're analyzing together. What do we make of this with the queens at the corner of the board?
Wow, really interesting to see that the players who have white in the next game, they're talking about activating their queen already with a move like b4. In normal chess, that's the orangutan opening.
Love it. So, you know, we played this head and hand game in Singapore where Magnus and I teamed up, and he gave me one advice at the start. He said if the queens are at the corner of the board, one thematic idea is to actually activate it on the very first move. And the reason for that is that black cannot answer with symmetry. If in this position, b4, the orangutan, if it appears, and black does mirror it, white will have an instant a4 break, breaking that symmetry and getting more harmony in the position.
Oh, that's very intriguing, and it plays into exactly what Levon has talked about before. I'm also looking at, and prepared for you guys to tell me that this is the absolute worst move ever, but a b4 into like a c3, or d3 rather, to unlock a line for that bishop and just start looking at attacking chances all the way across towards, you know, that rook in the top right corner.
Yeah, exactly. Line up on the dart squares, on the long diagonal. I like it, James. Yeah, I think that's one kind of paradoxical thing with freestyle chess. queens, we're always taught in classical chess, don't activate her too early. You know, she becomes vulnerable.
Right.
She's your most valuable piece. Anytime she gets hit, you have to run away. You lose a bit of time. But activating the queen in terms of at least opening up diagonals, opening up lines, is such a priority in freestyle. If you don't get it done in the first 5-6 moves, you might not get it done at all. And a queen, of course, needs to play a part.
All that said, it looks like we're exploring the idea of c4 here.
The English opening, normally.
Yeah.
Okay, so this group, the players who will be playing with black, I believe, looking in a totally different direction. Okay, until this move, pawn to b4, eventually getting the queen out.
There you go.
Sooner rather than later.
Well, they're playing white, actually.
Oh, they're playing white.
Javakir and Hikaru will start with the white pieces.
Okay.
So Magnus and his group actually predicting what the opponents are going to do against them. Interesting here. And normally chess is about the center. Here it might be a bit of wing play first, and then a switch towards the center of the board.
Hikaru found something there too that all of them agreed they didn't like in a response from black, so now they're looking at other ways to control the center here with the pawns.
I love how the symmetry doesn't last too long. It lasted for 2 moves here. Some of the other games in the last round, it lasted like 5-6 moves, and then it's broken, and then it's chaos. But the
No, and that's the beauty of the format, as we talked about, right? Very quickly, you can get yourself into a sticky situation. And then conversely, yes, you could go 20 moves with perfect symmetry, and nobody's worse.
Yeah. We're going to see b4 on one of these boards at least. It's such a thematic idea in these positions, and it also makes, you know, perfect sense once you understand these certain, well, there are no general principles in freestyle chess, right? It's like Fortnite without a map. Every position's new. You got to find your own way. You got to fight your own way without being familiar with anything. So I think b4 or c4, these are the 2 moves that we're seeing a lot in the analysis. What's your vote here, David?
Before you guys get to vote, I'll say b4.
What about you, James? What are we going to see more?
I mean, I like the b4, but I'm calling that I still want. I haven't seen anyone theorize it yet, but I want to see the d3 push to follow, trying to find a way to get that bishop out. I notice a lot of them are also trying to get that the g knight out early. Also makes for a very easy castle as well.
Nice spot. We should also mention there are no weak kind of tender spots in either side's camp. Everything is defended, so there's not going to be any immediate blunders, no knockouts. Every pawn is defended by a piece, which isn't always the case in freestyle chess here.
I actually really like knight f3, developing that knight. It also stops black from advancing some of those pawns on the center of the board, controlling the e5 square. So whether it's the first move, or perhaps a few moves later, I think that knight does find itself there. c4, I see, is the other move that the players are discussing. Opening up the bishop, lining it up against the 8-7 pawn in case black was to go for an early castle.
Whoa. Magnus looks intrigued. You see it from his point of view here. Alireza just lurking in the background, just watching, not contributing too much.
Yeah, this group
playing
here.
his next bullet match.
Yeah, this group here playing black.
Levon with the best shirt.
That's
Always
taste.
Always a flare of style from Levon.
That's like Gelfand style thing.
That's Hikaru's hands, guaranteed.
This is a classic for chess players. I mean, there needs to be some captured or uncaptured piece. Sam Sevi and Hans Niemann will gladly tell you that.
A different approach here with the c pawn moving forward and to activate the queen with the b pawn 1 step ahead.
Sorry, they were both. Whoa, that knight suddenly like appeared.
Sindarov, I don't know where I would want to sit. Probably on this sofa, actually. Just pick Javakir's mind. Whatever he's doing, it's just...
something's
The
working.
player stole my earpiece. I think it was Alireza. That's why he has that guilty look at his face.
Yeah, and for those who are just joining us, Chess 960, as this is also popularly known as Fisher Random Freestyle Chess. Here, we don't have 960 positions. It starts with 959, removing the standard chess position, which isn't position number 1. It's position 518.
Exactly.
So that has been taken off the cards.
Yeah.
Or the shuffling
as
board.
well as each position that we've played prior.
Yeah, interesting because, this position 200 is going to be totally different from the others we've seen. We've seen a couple in the 900s now. We saw one...
a double digit.
55 or something like that. So this is going to be completely fresh.
I'll be honest, I find it quite amazing that they're even getting this far into a theorized game.
No, it's insane. Before you know it, they're on move 10.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they're on move 1 again. It's like there's multiple realities, like Memento, you know, there are flashbacks and... I mean, look at that. Just one person.
Right, yeah, and now we're back.
And I love how they decide who's moving so smoothly. Like, one person is the designated mover. There's the guy sitting in the background, kind of like the mob boss. Like, yep.
I was going to say, the one thing
That's
they seem
Noterback.
to all agree on is that knight is coming to F3 pretty early.
Who's that guy with the white?
The one
Never
thing-
seen it before.
The one thing I will say is I've played quite a lot of Fisher Random, chess 960, freestyle chess, whatever you call it, but especially in rapid formats, it's an advantage to start with black if you haven't analyzed like this. That's why the players are sitting there analyzing, because often as white, the pressure's on you to choose the pawn structure, to choose where you put your pieces. Black, you just react. So rather than kind of the clock starting and the player with the white pieces sit there for 5 minutes trying to navigate, you know, where
Giving
are my
the
pieces?
presentation first, you know, it's like, yeah.
Exactly. The players
Exploring
need this time.
D4, D5 now.
Bishop B4.
This one looks too dry. I don't think the
Yeah,
players
they,
will like it.
I was
they
gonna
take
say.
it back immediately. They don't explore it
They're
further
like, "No,
beyond move
thank
1.
you."
It's like wine taste. You know, it's like wood. It's like, which Cabernet, you know, the Pinot Noir? Not D4. No. Too bitter.
I love that in freestyle. You don't block the center. You leave the center open as the battleground for later. And
So queen on A1, very important. You need to get the queen into the game, and there's two ways to do it, A4 or B3.
Or B4. Move 1.
What do you call that opening? How did you learn? Do you know what one B4 is called?
We were just discussing that.
Really?
Standard 518, it's the orangutan.
Okay, in like the Russian-speaking world, it's Sokolsky. Because Alexei Sokolsky, I have his book on one. He wrote a book on 1v4. It was a crazy person once.
Wow.
Named Sokolsky. Okay, go on.
There's a story, right, why it's called the orangutan. David, about a player going to a zoo before a game. And
can't remember which player.
Yeah, maybe it was it Nimzowitz's story? I'm not sure, but a player
It's
going
always
to
Nimzowitz.
It possibly goes to the zoo right before a game and wondering what he's going to start with, and apparently an orangutan appeared and said, go B4.
Wow.
He went B4 and he won the game.
Do we know what the official
Bronx.
rating of that orangutan was?
Wait. Say that again?
It was the Bronx Zoo.
Well, the
1928.
players are up from their couches and getting into position, which means we're just about into the next round. I think we're going to want to start with the Sindarov game up against Gukesh, right? We have our undefeated player up against the world champion. Feels like a good place for us to start.
Feisty matchup. Should be
Not
fun.
argue with that. No, not this one.
And
If you had to break down their styles, I mean, Gukesh we've seen so much of. I think Sindarov's still not a household name, right? Like some of the other players here. How would you describe Sindarov's style?
I mean, first of all, he's just very impressive, very universal. All the top players are. They're good at everything. I would say Javakir, he kind of blends the calculation with a bit more kind of bravery, instinctiveness than some of the other young players. I've only played him a few times online. I've never played him in classical chess.
Oh, I had a very long game with him in World Rapid. E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6, knight C3, knight F6, D4. No, I think draw there. Bishop B5, draw. So I got a great sense of his style there. But he, by nature, is accelerated dragon and King's Indian are his main openings.
Well, we have the C4, like we saw a
that's
number.
what you're pointing at.
Yeah, sorry. No, I was going to say, well, we have C4 like we saw a number of the players working through earlier, and then, of course, quickly the knights come out onto F3, F6.
Wow.
But immediately fighting for control of the center now.
This is exactly what was happening on the players' boards when they were discussing, breaking things down. And you can see Javakir looking away. I'm trying to remember which set of groups kind of were discussing this. I don't remember Gukesh being too involved in the discussion so far today at all, I should mention. So he's the first to take a long think here.
And Gukesh is also here with his second and long-time trainer, Guy Whiskey. I wonder if the players are allowed in between. I think they can only discuss with each other. They're not allowed to have any outside assistance between the games. Now, one of the things I noticed about the C-pawn moving forward, we've been talking about the theme of putting the knights behind the pawn. It also means that white bishop on E1, the dark squared bishop, can land on C3 and at some point line up in a beautiful diagonal with the queen on A1 once the B-pawn moves forward.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? There's no styles, and there was a question I saw. Does your style carry over to freestyle? Not for now. I think for now there's bigger priorities on the pyramid. You know, like survival, which makes it really interesting. Yeah. Sorry to derail the bishop b4. Yeah.
Completely agree. It kicks in maybe move 30 onwards. Like if it gets slower, then the positional players come to the fore. But it's more like Chinese chess. Someone mentioned Chinese chess earlier. It's like tactics at the beginning. It's just like pure calculation, just survival mode. Yeah, looks like a head-to-head, head-on battle here in the center of the board.
And also when it comes to standard chess, right, we've got these styles, right? I'm an E4 player, I'm a D4 player. I like to bring the knight out. By the way, a big move right now at the center of the board. To me, that looks like a pawn sacrifice, but setting up a massive trap.
What if E5?
Let's show what happens. Let's show that.
Discover checks happen early and often. Can I castle? No, I mean, even if you could, it would be even make things even worse. That's a check. That's a rook. And yeah, bad. Tears.
Found an undefended piece.
There you have it.
These pieces drop off.
But sometimes these
LPDO.
ideas can be annoying, like E5 and D4 driving that wedge in. Gotta watch for the check on B4.
Yeah, and for the eagle-eyed viewers from earlier, this actually did appear on the players' boards when they were discussing it. So this isn't just kind of over-the-board inspiration necessarily from Sindarov. This is something that they were breaking down earlier, but Gukesh was not involved in those
I was going to say, did it appear on both sets of boards?
I don't.
Or only one?
We didn't see Gukesh analyzing. It was Sindarov, right?
Sindarov. Definitely happened on his board where he was